Officer James Collins pulled the trigger without hesitation. The bullet hit Private Robert Bandy in the shoulder, a black soldier in full U.S. Army uniform, standing in a hotel lobby, unarmed, guilty only of asking a white cop to stop hurting a woman. The gunshot echoed through the Braddock Hotel at 7:42 p.m. on August 1st, 1943. Robert Bandy collapsed, blood spreading across his khaki jacket. The jacket with the American flag patch on the shoulder. The jacket he'd earned fighting fascism in Europe, while his own country treated him like the enemy. Officer Collins radioed for backup, claimed Bandy had attacked him, a lie that would cost him everything. Because what Collins didn't know was that pulling that trigger didn't just shoot a soldier. It lit a fuse that had been burning in Harlem for decades. And when that fuse reached the end, it would destroy Collins' career, his reputation, and his entire future. But here's what will shock you. What happened to Officer James Collins wasn't justice from the courts. It wasn't punishment from the NYPD. It was something far more terrifying. It was a phone call from Bumpy Johnson to the mayor of New York City. This is the story of the white cop who thought his badge made him untouchable, and the 3 days that proved him wrong. To understand what happened to Officer James Collins, you need to understand who he was before August 1st, 1943. James Patrick Collins, born 1909 in Brooklyn, Irish Catholic family. Father was a longshoreman. Mother worked in a textile factory. 7 kids in a 2-bedroom apartment in Red Hook. Collins joined the NYPD in 1932, right in the middle of the Great Depression. 23 years old, needed work. The police force paid steady money when millions of men were selling apples on street corners. He was assigned to the 28th Precinct, Harlem. For 11 years, Collins walked a beat in a neighborhood he didn't understand and didn't want to understand. To him, Harlem wasn't a community of families, churches, businesses, and culture. It was enemy territory, a place where black people needed to be controlled, not protected. His record shows exactly what kind of cop he was. Between 1932 and 1943, Officer James Collins had 19 complaints filed against him for excessive force. 19 documented incidents where citizens claimed he'd beaten them, harassed them, or made false arrests. Not one of those 19 complaints resulted in discipline. Not one. Because in 1943, when a white cop in Harlem said a black citizen was resisting arrest, the department believed the cop. Every time. No questions asked. Collins learned quickly that his badge was a license. He could stop anyone, search anyone, hit anyone, arrest anyone. And as long as he wrote the right words in his report, resisting arrest, threatening behavior, suspicious activity, the system protected him. He used that license constantly. Store owners on 125th Street knew Officer Collins. When he walked into a black-owned business, they knew what was coming. The shakedown. Nice place you got here. Be a shame if we had to shut it down for code violations. Translation: pay me or I'll destroy you. Young men on street corners knew Officer Collins. If they didn't move fast enough when he told them to scatter, they got his nightstick across their backs. If they talked back, they got arrested for disorderly conduct. Women knew Officer Collins. He had a reputation for stopping attractive black women, asking for identification, running his hands over them during searches, making comments that made their skin crawl. Everyone in Harlem knew Officer James Collins, and everyone hated him. But Collins didn't care. He was protected by the system, protected by a police department that saw Harlem as an occupation zone, not a neighborhood to serve. By 1943, Collins had been working Harlem for 11 years. He'd made hundreds of arrests, filed thousands of reports, collected untold amounts of money through unofficial fines, and never faced a single consequence. He thought he was untouchable. August 1st, 1943. 7:30 p.m. The Braddock Hotel on 126th Street. Officer Collins was on duty, walking his regular beat. He got a call about a disturbance at the Braddock, a woman arguing with the hotel manager. Her name was Margie Polite. She was staying at the Braddock with her son. The manager had overcharged her for the room, charged her the white rate instead of the black rate, then claimed she owed more money. When Margie argued, when she demanded fair treatment, the manager called the police. Collins arrived 7 minutes later. He found Margie in the lobby, still arguing with the manager. She was loud. She was angry. She was a black woman refusing to accept being cheated. To Officer James Collins, that made her a criminal. "You're under arrest for disorderly conduct," Collins announced. "I didn't do anything wrong," Margie said. "This man is stealing from me." Collins didn't care about her explanation. He grabbed her by the arm, twisted it behind her back. Margie cried out in pain. "You're hurting me!" Collins twisted harder. That's when Private Robert Bandy stepped forward. Robert Bandy, 26 years old, U.S. Army, home on leave after serving in North Africa. He'd spent the last year fighting Nazis, dodging bullets, watching friends die, all to protect American freedom. He was standing in the lobby wearing his uniform, saw a white cop brutalizing a black woman, and he couldn't stay silent. "Sir," Robert said, voice respectful but firm. "You're hurting her. She's not resisting." Officer Collins turned, saw the uniform, didn't care. "Mind your business, boy." "I'm not a boy," Robert said. "I'm a soldier. I don't care if you're General Eisenhower. This doesn't concern you." But Robert Bandy had spent a year fighting for democracy, fighting against fascism, fighting for the idea that all people deserve dignity and justice. He couldn't watch this happen and walk away. "You don't need to hurt her," Robert said, stepping closer. "She's cooperating." That's when Officer James Collins made the decision that would destroy his life. He drew his weapon. "Back up or I'll shoot." Robert Bandy, a decorated soldier who'd faced enemy fire in North Africa, stood his ground. "You're not going to shoot an unarmed soldier for asking you to treat a woman with respect." Officer Collins proved him wrong. The gunshot exploded through the lobby. Robert Bandy fell, blood pouring from his shoulder, his army jacket, the symbol of his service, his sacrifice, soaked through with red. Margie Polite screamed. The hotel manager ran, and Officer James Collins stood there with his gun still raised, staring at what he'd done. In that moment, Collins had a choice. He could call for an ambulance. He could admit he'd overreacted. He could tell the truth. Instead, he radioed for backup and lied. "Officer needs assistance. Braddock Hotel. Suspect attacked me, fired in self-defense." By 8:00 p.m., word was spreading through Harlem. They shot a soldier. They shot Robert Bandy, a black man in uniform, fighting for his country, shot by a white cop in a hotel lobby. By 9:00 p.m., a crowd had gathered outside the Braddock Hotel. 50 people. Then 100. Then 500. By 10:00 p.m., the crowd was a mob. And the mob was moving through Harlem like wildfire. Store windows shattered. Not black-owned businesses, those were left untouched. But white-owned stores that had been overcharging Harlem residents for years, those burned. Police cars were overturned. Officers who tried to enter the neighborhood were met with bricks, bottles, rage. The NYPD lost control. By midnight, Commissioner Louis Valentine called Mayor Fiorello LaGuardia. "We need the National Guard. Harlem is burning." But here's what Officer James Collins didn't know as he hid in the 28th Precinct, writing his false report, preparing to lie under oath. Bumpy Johnson was about to get involved. And when Bumpy Johnson got involved, the rules changed completely. 11:15 p.m. Bumpy Johnson stepped out of Small's paradise. The streets were full of smoke, fire, chaos, people running in every direction, sirens wailing, glass breaking. Bumpy's lieutenants surrounded him. "Boss, we need to get you out of here. The guard's coming." Bumpy looked at the burning streets, looked at his people destroying their own neighborhood out of pain and rage. looked at the police in riot gear waiting for an excuse to start shooting. "Get me a bullhorn," he said. 5 minutes later, Bumpy was standing on the hood of a Cadillac in the middle of 125th Street and Lenox Avenue. His driver leaned on the horn. Long, sustained blast. People turned, saw who it was, and slowly the chaos started to quiet. Bumpy raised the bullhorn. "I know why you're angry. I'm angry too. They shot Robert Bandy for protecting a woman. That cop will probably get a medal while Robert's in the hospital fighting for his life." The crowd roared agreement. "But look around you," Bumpy continued. "Whose stores are you burning? Whose homes? Yours. Tomorrow morning when the smoke clears, who's going to pay to rebuild? Not the NYPD, not City Hall. You." He paused. Let that sink in. "Here's what they want. They want you to burn your neighborhood so tomorrow they can roll tanks down these streets and say, 'See, they're animals. They need to be controlled. You're giving them exactly what they want.'" The crowd was listening now. "So here's what we're going to do. You're going to go home. Check on your families. Let the fires burn out, and I'm going to call the mayor. I'm going to tell him that if the cop who shot Robert Bandy isn't gone by tomorrow, next time I won't stop the riot. I'll lead it." By midnight, the streets were clearing. The National Guard rolled into Harlem to find nothing left to suppress. The riot was over. Not because the police stopped it, because Bumpy Johnson did. And then Bumpy made a phone call that changed everything. Midnight. Mayor LaGuardia's office. The phone rang. "Mayor, you have a call." Says his name is Bumpy Johnson. LaGuardia knew the name. Every politician in New York knew the name, but Bumpy Johnson didn't call mayors. This was unprecedented. "Put him through." "Mr. Mayor," Bumpy's voice came through the line, calm, almost friendly. "This is Bumpy Johnson. We haven't been formally introduced, but I think you know who I am." "Mr. Johnson, I'm aware of your reputation." "Good. Then you know I just did your job for you. I stopped a riot your police couldn't handle. 10,000 people were in those streets. I sent them home. You're welcome." LaGuardia bristled. "I don't recall asking for your help." "You didn't have to. See, unlike you, I actually live in Harlem. These are my people. And I'm not going to let them destroy themselves because your cops don't know how to act civilized." "Officer Collins has been suspended pending investigation." "Suspended?" Bumpy's voice went cold. "That's not going to cut it." "Excuse me. Here's what's going to happen, Mr. Mayor. Officer Collins is gone. Not suspended. Fired. And every other officer in that precinct who's beaten a black citizen without cause, I have names. 8 of them. They're gone too. You can't demand. I'm not demanding. I'm informing. Because here's the deal. I stopped this riot. But next time some cop puts his hands on one of my people, I won't stop it. I'll arm it. You think tonight was bad? Tonight was me showing restraint." Silence on the line. "You can't threaten the mayor of New York City." Bumpy laughed. "I'm not threatening you, Mr. Mayor. I'm offering you a solution. You want peace in Harlem? You want your police to patrol without getting bricks thrown at them? Then you clean house. Get rid of the cops who think their badge gives them the right to brutalize black people. Do that, and I guarantee you won't have another riot. And if I don't, then next time, I won't make a phone call. I'll make a statement, and you'll have a war on your hands that'll make tonight look like a church picnic." LaGuardia sat in his office, staring at the phone. He knew Bumpy was right. He knew Collins was dirty. He knew half the Harlem precinct was corrupt. But firing white cops at the demand of a black gangster would be political suicide. But so would another riot. "I'll look into it. You've got 72 hours, Mr. Mayor. After that, I can't control what happens." The line went dead. August 4th, 1943. 3 days later. The New York Times ran a story on page 7. 8 NYPD officers dismissed following internal review. No details, no names, just gone. Officer James Collins was fired, charged with assault. The charges were later dropped. The system still protected him that far. But he never wore a badge again. Collins tried to get work with other police departments. New Jersey rejected him. Connecticut rejected him. Even smaller towns that were desperate for officers wouldn't hire him. Because Bumpy Johnson had made sure every police department in the tri-state area knew exactly what James Collins had done. Made sure they knew he was the cop who started the Harlem Riot. Made sure his name was poison. James Collins spent the rest of his life working manual labor, loading docks, construction sites, dead-end jobs that paid barely enough to survive. He died in 1971, 62 years old, alone, broke, forgotten by everyone except the people of Harlem who remembered him as the cop who thought he was above the law, and discovered he wasn't. Here's what shocks people about this story. It's not that Officer Collins shot an unarmed soldier. Police brutality against black citizens was common in 1943. It's still common today. What's shocking is that Collins actually faced consequences, real consequences, not from the courts, not from internal affairs, but from a community that said enough. Bumpy Johnson didn't march, didn't protest, didn't file complaints that would be ignored. He stopped a riot, made one phone call, and forced the most powerful politician in New York to choose between protecting a dirty cop or protecting the city. LaGuardia chose the city. Collins was sacrificed to maintain peace. But here's the deeper truth. What happened to James Collins wasn't really about Bumpy's power. It was about community power. Because when Bumpy stood on that car with a bullhorn and 10,000 angry people listened, that wasn't fear of one man. That was trust in one man. Trust that he would protect them. Trust that he would fight for them. Trust that he wouldn't let Collins get away with it. And that trust gave Bumpy more power than any politician, any police commissioner, any mayor could ever have. Officer James Collins thought his badge made him untouchable. He thought he could shoot a soldier in uniform and walk away. He thought the system would protect him like it always had. He learned that systems can be broken, that badges can be taken. That power without accountability is just tyranny waiting to fall. Robert Bandy survived his gunshot wound, returned to active duty, served another 2 years fighting in Europe, came home to Harlem and lived to be 83 years old. Officer James Collins lost everything and died forgotten. Sometimes justice doesn't come from courtrooms. Sometimes it comes from communities that refuse to accept brutality as normal. From leaders who understand that real power comes from protecting people, not oppressing them. August 1st, 1943. The night a white cop thought he could shoot a black soldier without consequences. The night Harlem burned. The night Bumpy Johnson proved that real power doesn't come from a badge. It comes from the people. If this story of accountability, community power, and real justice moved you, subscribe for more untold stories from Harlem's history. Drop a like if you believe police brutality should always have consequences. Share this with someone who needs to hear that communities are more powerful than badges. What do you think should have happened to Officer Collins? Let me know in the comments below.